Hello everybody, I'm Razorblade Mango, and it's almost here, guys. The grand finale to the Metal Gear Solid saga, as we know it. I don't care what Metal Gear games come after this point. To me, the Phantom Pain is the final Metal Gear Solid game. I don't care what games labeled Metal Gear Solid Konami shits out come out after the Phantom Pain. They aren't Metal Gear games to me. Because, let's face it, it's the last hurrah for Kojima. At least, the last one working for Konami. And as he's explicitly stated, he's not going to retire. But this will be, unless they were to work out some kind of insanely lucrative, highly demanding deal with him, some kind of contract, it's over. Kojima and Konami, it's done. Finished. So, I just want to talk about, kind of give like a little, a little eulogy for the Metal Gear Solid series. Now, keep in mind, I haven't played Phantom Pain yet, and I must admit, I am a little concerned by what I've heard from the game so far, even though it's been getting, 10 out of 10s and 9s out of 10s. It's been calling, one of the greatest games of all time. It's, Game of the Year. It's the most amazing thing ever made. Maybe it's my mistrust of big gaming publications, especially when they are specifically flown out to review events held by the publisher, and then all of them come on and go, oh, it's this amazing game, 10 out of 10, blah blah blah. That to me is a little sketchy, because again, I don't trust big gaming publications. I don't trust Konami. I especially do not trust Konami. And even all the reviews I've been reading so far have kind of had the same structure to them, where it's like da 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 da, amazing, amazing, amazing. Oh, the story's not that great. Da 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 da, amazing, 10 out of 10. Which, in my opinion, if the story of a fucking Metal Gear Solid game is disappointing, it doesn't deserve a 10 out of 10. I'm sorry, it doesn't. IGN and GameSpot, that does not fly in my book. But I will admit, and I've said this before on past shows, I am not a huge hardcore Metal Gear Solid fan. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's one of the most interesting series the video game industry has ever released, ever. I think Kojima is one of the very few video game designers that I would ever call legendary. He's awesome. I mean, the guy is smart. The guy has a very distinct, unique style. And the guy, he knows what he's doing. And he has this, you can tell, he has this love, and that's a word I've used multiple times, passion for what he does in this industry. And for the series that he has, like he said in the past, it's his child. Metal Gear is his child. And even things that aren't Metal Gear, he's put passion and love into, like Zone of Enders, and of course the brilliant PT. And if I were to ever call anybody to me he is the Stanley Kubrick of video games. It's this powerful artist that comes in and has this dynamic sense of and again, passion and style and writing. I mean, the guy is a force of nature. Kojima is this living legend. He really is. And once, even though he's going to be gone from Konami, he still will be that force of nature in the video game industry. I am highly anticipating whatever the guy does next. Or even if he gets away from video games and goes to something like movies or anime or books or something that is made by a man as fascinating and weird and wacky and awesome as Kojima deserves all of the attention, deserves all of the hype that it gets, because the guy is awesome. The guy's awesome. So yeah, let me start my little personal tribute to Metal Gear by saying that I honestly didn't get started on Metal Gear until I was around, I think, middle school, early high school is when I first started getting into Metal Gear, because I had never, and I grew up in a strict household, and I was never allowed to play Metal Gear games, and my dad never even knew those existed. I mean, the M-rated games I mainly got from my dad were the usuals, like Grand Theft Auto 3, and I think I got Hitman at one point, just the usual M-rated fare, but nothing as just bizarre as Metal Gear. So I never had, I wasn't fortunate enough to grow up with Metal Gear like a lot of people have, and where it means something significantly in their lives. I truly envy those people that I don't have that connection with Metal Gear. But, again, I do have a connection to Metal Gear. I think it is, and like I said, one of the most interesting series to come out. And my entry point into the series was Guns of the Patriots, which was, at the time, and I didn't even get to play it until maybe, because I knew it came out in 2008. I probably didn't get to play it until like 2009, when a friend of mine let me borrow his copy of it, and I got to play it on at another friend's house, weirdly enough, because I didn't have a PS3 at the time. So I had this, even though I didn't even own the system, I had this copy of Metal Gear Solid 4 walking around with me, and I didn't even own the damn console. But that didn't stop me from wanting to play something that I had heard so much hype about, and so much love and praise. And I got it, and I wasn't naive. I also knew about the Metal Gear legacy. I knew about all the little quirks behind it, like the hours-long cutscenes, the incredibly long codex conversations, just the bizarre, wacky humor mixed in with a really dark, disturbing story at times. I mean, it's very tonally inconsistent, and I will never ever deny that. It is a very tonally inconsistent game, and it makes some odd design choices, both gameplay-wise and narratively. But again, it's fascinating. It's interesting. You'd be hard-pressed to find somebody that thinks this series is boring. I'm not saying, like, the gameplay is boring, but, like, the story and how it all plays out is anything but just interesting. And its very core essence is interesting, because of the odd directions that it takes. And when I was playing Metal Gear Solid 4, I had a hell of a time playing that game. I thought, especially, like, the boss battles were awesome. Like, a lot of the cutscenes I still remember very fondly to this day. The ending is one of the best I've seen in all of gaming. I mean, it is an experience for the ages, and still one of the very best games available on the PlayStation 3. It's wonderful. And a lot of what I like about Metal Gear, or maybe not like, but the reason I connect to Metal Gear so much is because it is a big part of PlayStation history. I mean, any series that has its beginnings on the PlayStation, it still remains, to me, even though if it goes multi-platform, still feels like a PlayStation series to me. I mean, that holds true with something like, Silent Hill and Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. Series that have their beginning on a console, to me, still feel like it has that original console in its DNA. I mean, even stuff like Mass Effect, which was once an Xbox 360 exclusive, still to me, even when I play it on the PlayStation, it still has that Xbox DNA kind of woven into it, because BioWare were originally known for being, Xbox developers with like Jade Empire, stuff like that. Now, with Metal Gear, because it's ending, this feels like the closing of a chapter in PlayStation's long history. This is just a chapter that's closing. It's the ending. It's the grand finale. And again, it's very bittersweet. it's like, hey, you know, I'm happy this is not finally over, but I'm happy this is going to be getting a fireworks display of a conclusion. But it's sad that we're never going to get another Metal Gear Solid, a true Metal Gear Solid game. And I said, I don't give two flying fucks what Konami squirts out after Kojima leaves. I don't care what they do. To me, Metal Gear will die gracefully with the Phantom Pain. And then Konami is going to dig that corpse back up and reanimate it like some fucked up Frankenstein's monster. So, and again, once I finished Guns of the Patriots, I wanted to play more, but I couldn't find a really good, at least like a relatively reasonably priced copy of Metal Gear Solid 2 or 3 until I stumbled upon 3 at a swap meet when I was in high school. And I think this was before the HD collection came out for the PlayStation 3. So I found a copy of Snake Eater at some swap meet, and it was like $3. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna buy this. So I picked that up. I went home and I played it, and to this day, Snake Eater remains my favorite Metal Gear Solid game today. I've played since then. I've played 2, I've played 1, I've played some of Peace Walker just because from the HD collection I never really got into it like I did, 2, 3, and 4. And even the first one, I'm not as crazy. I mean, I really like the first one. I'm still not as crazy about the first one as I am about 3 or 4. Even 2 to a certain extent, even though I don't think Raiden is as interesting as Snake. Now, 3 is where I think the series... And Kojima has shown time and time again that he is capable of very emotional storytelling, or no matter how bizarre and off-the-wall Metal Gear can get, there's this very grounded emotional core to it that is all about its love for the characters, the love for the world, where these characters have these very well-developed, defined relationships with one another. I mean, it's... And nowhere to me was that more poignant than Metal Gear Solid 3. Especially with the relationship between Snake and the boss, where, I mean, it's tragic. It's a heartbreaking tragedy, this game, and the ending is just such a gut punch to what you've expected, what you've come to understand during the game, and then when you find out what's really going on, it brings this whole new context to the story, and that makes it endless. It makes it timeless. It makes it memorable because of how it the wool was pulled over your eyes, and you felt like Snake in that moment because even though Boss is the primary antagonist during the game, you still get this. You still understand the connection between Snake and Boss. I mean, they are there for each other, and you feel sorry for her after. When the game's concluded, because even though she's the villain, it's very sympathetic how she's played out. And it's just... And again, the game, the boss battles are awesome. The enemies are great. The environments are awesome. I love the stealth mechanics in that game, even though it hasn't aged the best in years. I think it was improved in the HD collection. And even with its problems, it still remains my favorite Metal Gear game to date. I mean, with 4 coming up a close second. Now, the present, I made a very angry rant about Ground Zeroes. I still stand by what I said. I think for $40, it was an absolute ripoff. And again, I don't exactly blame Kojima for that, looking back on it, in what I know now. I think Konami had a big hand in that. That wouldn't surprise me. But I am really, really excited to play Metal Gear Solid, the Phantom Pain. All the trailers they've released for it so far have been wonderful, especially the ones edited by Kojima himself. And all the trailers from what I like to call the Phantom Pain E3 trailer trilogy where you've got all three of them are terrific in their own way, especially the Red Band trailer for the E3 2014 trailer, and I think the 2015 one is probably my favorite one because I've watched it several times. It gives me chills watching it, and just all the wonderful things Kojima has in store, not just from a story perspective, from a gameplay. But again, I have my concerns. One are the microtransactions. I detest microtransactions in games. I will admit I do have my exceptions, and it's only if the game is either like a budget game, or if it's easy enough to acquire money that the microtransactions just seem kind of pointless. Like GTA 5, I think earning money in that game is fine. It's fair. It's balanced. It's fun. Earning stuff in Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, I think, is fine. I don't ever use the microtransactions for that, and I don't ever feel the need. Now, something like Mortal Kombat X, which I think has some of the worst, most heinous microtransactions I've ever seen. Easy fatalities? Really? Really, Warner Brothers? Really? You take the most iconic part of Mortal Kombat, and you turn it into this freemium pay-to-win bullshit? Fuck you. And the coin, or a lot of what ruined my excitement and a lot of my enjoyment of Mortal Kombat X was that the coin earnings in the game was so deliberately slow that it was tempting to buy that absolutely atrocious 1999 unlock everything microtransaction. That's what I hate about microtransactions, when a company deliberately sabotages the way of earning currency to make it significantly slow or impossible, to where it just pushes your patience to the absolute limit and turns it into a fucking grind fest. That's what pissed me off about Mortal Kombat X, and that's why I consider it one of the biggest disappointments of this year. It was heinous what Warner Brothers did to that game, and it would have been great if it hadn't been for that. I mean, it was just, maybe not great, but it would have been a lot better if Warner Brothers had fucked off and not messed with it like they did. And what I've heard from Metal Gear Solid 5 is, I've heard that in order to do the FOB mother base building, the stuff that's like, you have to buy waters to create more military style stuff, and it's like the part of the multiplayer element, you have to purchase open water. And I've heard from, and again, Konami is trying to defend it, which, fuck you, Konami. Fuck Konami. Hashtag fuck Konami. 2 giant middle fingers up. Is that you can earn coins during the single player that you earn from missions. But haven't we learned by now that games that come out and go, well, it's fair, it's balanced, a lot of them are lying through their teeth. A lot of them are just saying that just to kind of, die down the hype. Because the game has been getting a ton of hype these past 24 hours with the review embargo lifting, and all the reviews keep pouring in and being like, oh my god, 10 out of 10. Masterpiece, one of the greatest games ever. Holy fuck, you need to buy this right now. Is this whole microtransaction nonsense, because it's nonsense, and I'm scared how much of a grind Metal Gear Solid 5 might be because of this microtransaction stuff. And considering this is Konami, oh boy, even with all the 10s out of 10s and 9s out of 10s, I'm very concerned for this aspect of the game. I'm really scared that it's going to be a grind. Now, don't get me wrong. I trust Kojima. I trust that he's done his best to make this a fantastic game. I don't trust Konami. And unfortunately, Konami has a lot of control over this. And they are not to be trusted. So I don't know how much of this game is going to be fucked because of their greedy bullshit. But we'll see. I definitely am. I don't know. I don't know if I will buy this game day one. That's what I'm debating in my head. Should I buy this day one at the risk of it being a disappointment? Or should I wait to hear from more trusted sources about the game? Mainly, I would buy it day one for you guys, because I want you guys to get the most honest opinion I possibly can. And if the game is fantastic, even with all the microtransaction bullshit and my concerns over some of the story parts, yeah, I want to get the word out there. But that's a risk I'm gonna have to take if I decide to buy it day one, which, you know, knowing me, I most likely will, because I think Metal Gear is awesome, and I do want to play it. And it is one of my most anticipated games of the year. So, that debate still rages on in my mind. Now, another concern I have about the game is the story. Because I think, what I've heard, they significantly cut down on the cutscenes and the dialogue from Big Boss. Probably because they couldn't afford to get Kiefer Sutherland in the studio for like more than a few days to record dialogue. That's why I've heard he's taken the Mad Max approach with being completely silent during most of the game. Which concerns me, because if there's one thing I love about Metal Gear, I love the over-excessive story. I love how long the cutscenes play out. And I'm worried that it's not going to feel like a Metal Gear Solid game if a lot of the cutscenes have been taken out and it's replaced with a lot more, you know, gameplay and grinding and stuff like that. And I've heard that the later missions, the later story missions, like the final story missions, require you to complete certain missions on higher difficulties, which is fine for replayability, but I'm concerned how that's going to be exploited by Konami or you know, or Kojima even. I don't know. I mean, I trust the guy. I'm just worried that pacing is going to offset a lot of what makes that game good. And if the core gameplay is still there from Ground Zeroes, then it's going to be a fun game, because I enjoy the gameplay of Ground Zeroes. It's just my beef with Ground Zeroes came from the value, which I didn't think stacked up at all. So there's that. And another thing I'm concerned about is Metal Gear Online, which is not going to be available until October, and has not had any kind of impressions done for it so far. It looked cool from that little stage demo that they gave at the Video Game Awards show last year in December. That looked pretty cool. But I'm concerned about that as well, because I don't know how much Konami is going to exploit that. If there's fucking microtransactions in the single-player campaign, man, imagine what the grind is going to be like in Metal Gear Online. And another concern, and a lot of games do this though, is that there's an XP boost that comes with the day one edition of Phantom Pain. So that's a concern of mine, and I'm interested to see what Metal Gear Online is going to be, because I liked Metal Gear Online from Guns of the Patriots. So we'll see. That's a thing that's you know, relatively minor compared to some of the other worries I have about it, but it's still a concern that I have. Now, the future of Metal Gear. It's pretty grim. It is pretty grim, considering Konami's what's going on with Konami nowadays. I don't think there will be another solid Metal Gear game, unless it's something like Metal Gear Revengeance, which if they give that to Platinum Games again, which should be solid. But anything that's like a core Metal Gear game starring Snake or Big Boss or whoever, it's not going to be the same, and especially not going to be the same considering Konami is just going to exploit the fuck out of it, probably for another goddamn erotic violence, hit the lever pachinko machine. Which, fuck that shit. Fuck that Castlevania and Silent Hill shit. The pachinko machines, it's disgusting. I mean, it is fucked up and out of touch on so many levels. And I know Konami has released this whole I've heard they've released this survey about what series we want to see, but I doubt anything is going to come of that, especially the way they've been treating all of their flagship franchises so far. I mean, whoring out Silent Hill to like a bunch of third-rate, third-tier developers, fucking up Castlevania, booting Kojima away from a Metal Gear Solid, his baby, the thing that has put Konami on one of the maybe the biggest franchise Konami has. Now that Silent Hill has gone down the crapper, or Castlevania is gone now, I mean, it's done. I mean, the series is done. I mean, I don't understand why they. I mean, I understand it for more money, and there's a bunch of people out there, like a bunch of fanboys out there, that will see Metal Gear and go, "Ooh, Metal Gear! I'm gonna buy. That no matter what, even if Kojima isn't involved, and they're gonna want to exploit that fan base to no end because fuck Konami." And it's just going to become a shallow, hollow, disturbingly deformed version of what it once was. I mean, it is the future is very dark, very dystopian, and Konami is to blame. But as for the future of Kojima, the guy can do whatever he wants now that he's free from Konami. That's the one bright spot in all this, that Kojima is finally free. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. He's no longer under Konami's thumb, so he's done. He can do whatever he wants. And if that means even getting away from video games, I will support the guy. I will be rooting for him. I hope he convinces Guillermo del Toro to do some kind of horror video, new horror IP. I hope that happens. He gets back with Norman Reedus to do something like that, and we get like one of the greatest new horror franchises of all time. I really hope that happens. That would be my ideal situation. Not even going through Kickstarter, but for them to form their own company and start making games, like self-publishing, to make their own games. I hope that happens, and I hope Kojima just soars after leaving Metal Gear Solid, a series that he is famous for, and he goes on to do something on par with that, or maybe even better. Oh boy, I mean, I don't want to dream too much, but better than Metal Gear for him? Maybe. I mean, if Silent Hills was still around, that might be, because that might have been one of the best horror games ever. But again, Konami had to fuck that up, so now we're not going to get that. But, if Kojima can get back with Del Toro, and they can get Reedus involved, the future is very bright for Kojima. It's just the future is not so bright for Konami, and Metal Gear, and Silent Hill, and Castlevania, and Zone of Enders, and all these other series they have under their thumb. Contra. So, yeah. Godspeed, Kojima. You've earned it. Godspeed, Metal Gear Solid. Godspeed, Kojima. Fuck you, Konami. Because of that. Anyway, so, yeah, that's my little eulogy for the Metal Gear Solid series. It's my eulogy and my hope for what Kojima is going to do next. And this next year for him, whatever he decides to do will be pretty interesting. And I'm looking forward to getting my hands on Phantom Pain. I hope it's awesome. I hope it's amazing, as I've been hearing, even with my concerns. But, as I always say, we'll see. Alrighty, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the subject, what you think about, Konami and Kojima and Metal Gear and Phantom Pain and all that stuff. Alrighty, guys. Thank you all for watching. Have a good one.